You know, everybody, I think we truly know what's actually criminal here, and that's the fact that Moriarty the Patriot isn't trending after every episode. But with that said, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another one of our weekly Moriarty the Patriot discussion videos. Today we're here to talk about episode 16, The Phantom of Whitechapel, Act 2. But before we get into that, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here, and let's go ahead and set our like goal for this week at 100 likes. You guys absolutely smashed it last time. Let's see if we can do it again. 100 likes by the end of the day. Let's get it going. But with that said, let's go ahead and just jump right into this video, shall we? My God, can we please get some credit to Jack for running his ass off? I was like legit very impressed, right? Because this week is all about like the fall of Jack the Ripper, right? Jack the Ripper in huge air quotes. Because we find out is not like one person. And this whole thing is sick. I'm not gonna lie, this is great. Loved it. This is like the most spectacular it's been in a hot minute. Like, this show's always been like really spectacular and fun, but this was like, they go over the top in the best way possible, and I loved it. We see like everybody put in a lot of work, and I think the person I was most impressed by was Jack, our Jack Sensei. Absolutely hoofing it like through Whitechapel, just running from both the yard and the people of Whitechapel, just like absolutely trying to avoid getting stabbed or shot. And he does actually get shot, but because of the cloak, he's actually able to like hide himself in armor, so he doesn't actually get hit. It looks like he gets shot for a second. I was like, no! There's a few times here that I was like, not Jack! Like, you just gave me Jack. You just gave me Ashlad in Moriarty the Patriot. Don't do this to me. You know what I mean? Like, don't take him away. Thankfully, no, that doesn't happen. Thank God. But, yeah, it's Jack. And also, give credit where it's due, Fred as well. Fred also goes on the run, right? Like, so it's between Jack and Fred. Fred seemingly ran a little less than Jack did. Jack ran, and I mean, keep in mind, Jack's no spring chicken, okay? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a hella old zombie as well, so I understand, but like, I'm just saying, Jack's no spring chicken. That must have been, like, he was hoofing it. And like avoiding gunfire and like bludgeons and everything, like he was like, it wasn't pretty, right? And so I was legit impressed by the fact that he's able to hoof it that long for like a full hour and then just dip out. Like he's graceful as hell, whereas Fred then takes over and runs for a bit. And also Fred was smart, telling him like the sickest part of the chase is when Jack's like, all right, Fred, you gotta tell me where to go, because there's an alley that way. I can head that way. They're coming at me. I can maybe like double back. You gotta tell me where to go, Fred. What am I doing? And then Fred like signals to him using a light, just saying like, you gotta charge ahead. And he's like, okay. And so he like throws one of the knives into the wall and uses it as like a kickstand to like jump off. Like just he springboards off the knife he threw into the wall, jumps over the people, and as he does, he lands on the other side and keeps running, and he notices like a whole bunch of people come out from the alley he was thinking about going into, so he would have been like toast if he turned down that alley. So without Fred, he would have been dead there, because his instincts were telling him to go into the alley. So we see like Jack, he's incredibly skilled, like insanely skilled, but he does have his limits. He's an older dude, you know, cut him some slack. I loved everything with Jack this week. I thought they did phenomenal. Also gotta say, I have to give big credit to Moran and Bond. The boys be putting in work this week. Like, Moran and Bond have been two of my current favorite characters to see in the show. The ship is strong as well. Like, I was about when Bond was still Irene before masquerading now as Bond. It's not even really like a masquerade. Irene is basically just full out Bond at this point. But, you know, when she was Irene, like I really loved the Irene Sherlock ship, right? But now that we have Bond, I'm all about Bond and Moran, because I'm like, this is so good. They are a power couple in every sense of the word. With an assist, by the way, from Von Herter, who is our not Q for the evening. Admittedly, this like when they said like Von Herder, I was like, I'm ashamed to admit that this is probably a reference and I don't know what it is. So I had to Google it. So I just Googled Von Herder and then nothing came up. Actually, like somebody came up, but it was like some like a historical figure that wasn't connected. So I was like, okay, that's not it. So I type in Von Herder Sherlock, right? Because I'm like, maybe he's connected in some way to Sherlock lore, and he is. Von Herder is the blind German mechanic who makes Moran's airsoft gun or airsoft rifle in The Empty House, which is the story where Sherlock comes back. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. So that's a nice little tie-in. But I feel like he's supposed to be Q. Right? Like, because he's like Q mixed with, like, but they give him the blindfold, so he's like Q from James Bond. If you don't know who Q is, and like, so, because you probably, like, a lot of you guys know, all of you know who James Bond is. I'm not even gonna say a lot of you. All of you know who James Bond is. You might not know who Q is, and if you don't, Q is the guy who makes all of Bond's gadgets. He used to be this, like, really friendly old guy. I like that version of Q. They made Q young in the recent Bond movies, and I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Like, I think it makes sense to make Q younger, you know, like more techie, but I like older Q, right? Like, older Q is fun to me. So having Von Herder, who is basically Q, but not Q. He's Moran's Q, who will become Q, I assume, right? Because it's like, okay, Moran had a Q, and it was Von Herder in the books. So now we have Bond, and Bond is going to be getting gadgets from this guy who makes gadgets for this organization. It's Q. It's just Q. Like, that's who he is. I know he's not, but he is. He's Q, and I'm gonna call him Q. Okay? Like, I'll call him Von Herder, but in my heart, it's Q. But yeah, like, just, and I love the blindfold. The blindfold's sick. He makes me think of Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, which is great. He's blonde Gojo, with gadgets. But yeah, no, Moran and Bond were absolutely in peak form. Moran has his friggin' rifle that friggin' Von Herder makes him. It's sick. Like, and it's like it takes the shot takes it perfectly silent. You know, he's like an expert sniper right now. It's so sick. And speaking of so sick, the combination. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. They have these, like, combination moves, right? Where you can, like, combine powers and, like, use them in cool ways. Tell me that wasn't a combination move right there. Like, when Bond's like, I have a plan! And so Bond runs and he takes out the coin and he flips the coin in the air. And right away, Moran's like, oh, you cheeky bastard, and pulls out a pistol. And because to take out the Gatling gun that's pinned Jack down, and he shoots the coin, and the coin is enough, like, so it bounces off the coin and into the Gatling gun, causing it, like, into the barrel, causing it to explode. That was one of the sickest things I've seen this whole season. And I've seen some cool stuff this season. That might be one of the coolest shit I've seen all year. That was so sick. And their little, like, hell yeah, like that bonding moment between that bonding moment between them. I'm gonna be doing that all season. I'll be here all season. I hope you guys enjoy. But that bonding moment where they're like, hell yeah, you see that? We did that. And I like at the end too. Moran is definitely the group's, like, normal, like I almost called him normie. They're like normal friend, right? Like, everything else is, like, spectacular and crazy. And don't get me wrong, Moran is a beast, right? He's clearly, like, an insane sharpshooter. But he seems to be, like, the more sort of, like, easily flustered, right? Like, just, like, constantly, like, what's going on? But you were Irene, and what's going on? And now Jack is here. Like, and, like, I love when he bursts in. He's like, why is Sensei here? Or why is the Maestro here? Maestro, I forgot. Yeah, Maestro. God, I forget that they call him Maestro. It's so sick. But why is Maestro here? And he's like, oh, well, I felt bad for Lou, having to take care of 2 households. You can't be a butler for 2 and still be part of the plan. This enables us to have more members for the plan, Moran. It's all for the plan. And then Bond comes in like, dude, it's wrong. You look freaked out. And Moran's like, I hate it here. So good. Speaking of Lou, though, oh my God, Will and Lou. Will and Lou have this another super sick moment. This episode is basically just, let's try to make JoJo's head explode. The episode, right? Because we see Will and Lou just show up, and they like, oh god, they have such a sick moment where like they find out that, well, they don't find out, like Will immediately assumes, correct, that Jack the Ripper is not one guy, it's like a group of guys. And I've heard this theory before, that Jack the Ripper was actually like a group of people, not just one person, right? Like a different, like not to this scale, right? Like the idea for this is that it's like that they were trying to cause a revolution, right? And it's just, but it's a crueler, darker version of the revolution that Will and the gang are trying to do. Like this is like a more manipulative, cruel, keeping the weak down and, you know, all that garbage. This is like a crueler version of that. The Jack the Ripper was multiple people theory that I've heard in the past is that it like one guy did kill those people, but different people were starting to mimic Jack and like trying to use Jack the Ripper as this sort of like catch-all term and get some infamy. So like that was like a theory that there was like multiple Jack the Rippers. And they do play with that here, so I have to give them credit. And Will correctly susses that out and shows up with Lou and has the sickest line of the whole episode. Maybe the sickest line of the entire second half of the season so far. And that is, and I'm gonna get real close to the mic for this, hell has been deserted, and all of its demons are here. It's like, oh, I got shivers. Ooh, I got shivers. That was so sick. I was so proud. I was like, Will and Lou. And like, when they're like, well, we'll just like, well then, like, if that's your answer, then kill them. And Lou has this smirk where he's like, oh, I'm so glad you said that. And all I thought in my head was, ooh, wrong move, pal. Like immediately, like, ooh, bad decision. And just immediately Will and Lou showing the work that Jack Sensei has taught them, that the maestro has shown them. Like absolutely cutting through these people like cake, if I might quote Barristan Selmy. Just cutting through the whole lot of them like cutting through a cake. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then that leads to Will having the other sick line where it's like, let me ask you a question. What do you think's faster? Their feet or this fuse? And I was like, oh shit! Like, and they make it look like it was all the Ripper, right? Like, and they say like, Sherlock will figure it out. But the question is he actually going to tell the Yard what's really going on? And of course Sherlock doesn't, right? Because it's like, of course not. Like, Sherlock's like, no, like there's such a thing as like an inconvenient truth, and I'm not telling them that. And I don't blame him. But, like, on top of that, too, he's just like, there's only one like, he knew immediately, like, there's only one person who can make this elaborate. So what the hell are you planning, Lord of Crime? Right? Because, again, he burned the note. Because if he knew who it was, it'd all be too easy. There's no fun in that. The game's not on if you know who it is. Because that's why I like Sherlock, right? He's just like, no, I'm a good person. Kind of. But I like a game, right? This is going to be the weirdest comparison I've ever made. But Sherlock Holmes is a lot like Goku. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds weird, and maybe it's my Dragon Ball fanboy, but Sherlock Holmes reminds me a lot of Goku in the sense that, like, they technically do good things. They are, at their core, good people, but they like a challenge, even at the risk of other people's safety. And, like, that's very much Sherlock, right? Like, that's why he chose to burn the thing without actually, like, reading who it was. And he still is sort of like, you could tell, like, even though he's getting frustrated with this whole Lord of Crime thing, a part of him really likes it. You know he does, right? It's like, oh, that's so great. And speaking of Sherlock, so, this is the part where I bring up the constant thing that has been happening in the second half of the show. Because in the first half of the show, it was just like the Moriarty squad versus Sherlock and his squad, right? Like, you know, Mrs. Hudson, Lestrade, Watson. But The second half has been like, and now we're going to reach into the big bag full of Sherlock and extended British universe characters, and we're going to pull them all out. We're just going to reach into our big bag of mystery here, and we're going to pull out all the mystery characters. We're just going to pull them all out. You knew when you saw this episode. If you watched these videos, you knew my reaction. Pardon my French here, but the fucking second he said, I guess I'll have to add that name to my list, I was like, no. Like the second you knew, the second he said that, exactly who it was. It's Charles Augustus Milverton, because of course it is. I was like, dude, it's Milverton. If you've seen BBC Sherlock, you might know him as like, I believe they call him like Magnuson, or like something like that. Charles Magnus or Magnuson. I don't remember. Who cares? But like the main point is Milverton is here. If you don't know who Milverton is, that car apparently wanted you to know that they know who Milverton is. Apologies for that. I'm gonna leave that in. Is it funny? I don't care. I'm gonna leave it in. Charles Augustus Milverton is somebody who, in canon, and this is like a slight, I guess like a faint spoiler, so you might not want to know this. So if you don't want to know, I am going to kind of get into some spoiler town. It's not like heavy spoilers, it's very slight. It's just something about that Sherlock notes about Milverton after they've already met. So if you don't want to know anything about Milverton, maybe end the video here. It's been real. I understand. Don't forget to hit that like button. 100 likes, less likable. I'm now going to say the thing. So, if you don't mind, this is what it is. Sherlock has said that Charles Augustus Milverton is the most revolting person he's ever come across of all the people he's ever faced. Of all the countless murderers Sherlock has thrown into the slammer, Milverton revolts him the most. He is the most revolting character he's ever come across. That is a testament to how annoying Milverton is as a character. Because Milverton as a character is like, with Moriarty, you get that there's like he's fun, right? Like there's like a sense of like dignity to Moriarty. Milverton is slimy and slippery in all the ways that Moriarty is without any of the class and with 10 times the goop. Like Milverton is like a bad dude, and the fact that he's in this, I'm like, oh man, because to me it's Moriarty, Milverton, right? Like those are like the two big ones. So the fact that he's here, that's intimidating. However, the fact that he's here has me going like, at some point we are going to run out of Holmes characters that I am familiar with, because like we are reaching like the max level, right? Like we already had like the Sherlock's like little kids that run around. I can't remember the name now, and I feel bad. I'm stupid. You guys know me. I'm terrible with names. The main kid, we've already had him show up. We have friggin' Fred Porlock is in this. Like, characters who, like, I knew, but I knew a lot of other people might not know. Like, they're all here, and at this point, even me with my, like, limited Sherlock knowledge, again, like, you guys know me, I'm a fan of, like I enjoy the audiobooks, but when it comes to this character and his stories, I love seeing it depicted in visual mediums, right? Like, video games, TV shows, now anime. Like, I love that stuff. So these characters are characters I've seen recur, but we're running out of those characters now. The fact that Milverton is here is like, there's like a handful of people I can think of who haven't shown up yet. Not even, like maybe like 2 or 3 who haven't shown up yet, and then that's it. That's all the characters I know. So we are running out of characters. However, don't think that I'm not gonna just Google these characters. Like, I had to Google Von Herder, for crying out loud. I didn't know who that was. Right? And then I was like, oh, never mind, I do know who that is. It's just he's only ever mentioned in like an offhand thing, and he's clearly Q. So when it comes to Sherlock characters, I'm running out. If we're gonna start talking about Bond, yeah, there's a lot of characters they haven't introduced yet. My thing, and maybe I would love to hear what you guys think. I talked a little bit about this last week. We know that they're like sort of doing this like British, like this throw up to like British folklore, right? Like these British characters, right? It's super rad. I love it. However, there's some other characters, some French characters who haven't shown up yet, who I would love to see. And I'm very curious what you guys think. Can we get some detective-adjacent characters? If you don't know, there's actually... I watched a video from, I believe it was Pushing Up Roses, on the thief version of Sherlock. Sherlock who's a criminal. I can't remember his name, but that was like a popular series for a bit. I'd love to see that. However, the French characters that I'm thinking of, who I would love to see, is Arsène Lupin, because I think he'd be great here. Think about just imagine how good Lupin would be in this. Or Poirot, if Poirot shows up. If Poirot shows up, could we get some Agatha Christie up in here? If we get Agatha Christie characters, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, speaking of arson. Don't forget, one of Arsène Lupin's best stories, well, one of his most famous stories, I like it. I know some people don't, but I like it. Arsène Lupin versus the great detective, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes. If Sherlock shows up in this story, I'm gonna lose my mind. I remember recently when the case closed, like the prequel, or not case closed, what am I saying? The prequel Phoenix Wright games are coming out, right? And I'm excited, right? But Phoenix Wright isn't gonna show up in this, but that'd be cool. But the Phoenix Wright games are coming out, and in those, we have Sherlock show up. And people were like, Sherlock, that's so dumb. Is that like a licensing thing? No, Sherlock's like a character. Sherlock is from the Arsène Lupin stories. He is just Sherlock in the Lupin universe. He's a little bit odd, like he's a bit of an odd character, right? Because it is just Sherlock, but in Lupin's world. But he has shown up in a lot of things, right? He's like obviously part of Arsene's world. He's in the Phoenix Wright games, and he is featured really prominently in Code Realize, which if you haven't seen, you should. It's all right. It's the anime is fun. I haven't played the visual novel. I want to do that on stream one day. But yeah, it's a fun time. Anyway, I'm just saying I would like to see some detective-adjacent characters, and I went way off the rails with that. But what are some like detective-adjacent characters who you would like to see? Who you think would fit? Like, I'm saying they kind of have to be in some way connected to Sherlock. So either detective-adjacent or British folklore characters. Let me know. Because I am so curious to see, because now like my mind's racing with like Bond characters and like other detective characters, and like, can you imagine if they end up on a train and it just becomes Murder on the Orient Express and Poirot's there? Like, just I can't. Anyway, with that said, everybody, I have to end today's video here because I'm just gonna keep going if I don't. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snooch, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you're here. Don't forget the like goal, 100 likes in the first day. My dudes, we can do it. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are two ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button, or for just $1 a month, you can go ahead and check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. Helps me keep the lights on around here, and it is very much appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. That is it for me. No extended outro this time. I've gushed enough. Let me know your thoughts. I'm just gonna go. Oh yeah, Pokemon Snap came out today. I'm gonna go play, or not today, yesterday. I'm gonna go play Pokemon Snap. Okay, bye.